Welcome back, everybody. It's LEC Summer 2019. It's playoffs. It's Rogue versus Splyce. And to the surprise of many, Rogue are up 1-0. And not because of just some cheese. They absolutely demolished Splyce. And now I think the #1 question on everyone's mind as we get ready for picks and bans is, what do Splyce show us in Game 2?
A Yuumi ban.
That's the first thing. Then our second biggest question is, does Rogue have anything else up their sleeve? What is it going to be here? So we get into our second draft of the day.
Reminder that it is Splyce again taking the red side, so I don't think we're going to see the same draft ran back. I do expect there to be some sort of pivot here around this Garen Yuumi, and I'm curious if Garen Yuumi is going to become the Sonateric of the LCS, where you have to have a counter to it or you must ban it.
Have to find out. For now, everything remaining the same. Will we have the legendary salty run back?
There she is.
Nope, there it is. All right, Olaf and now the Yuumi taking off the board. Rogue are going to have to show us something different on the bottom side of the map.
And they're going to replace Yuumi with either the Qiyana or the Sejuani. So the question is, do they really want to heavy down on the Inspired Jungle Pool? Now with that Sej pick open, what does it change? Our initial expectations for this draft were going to be that Akali is that #1 pick. So they're going to lock that one in for Larssen. And now the Sejuani could be a really good option here for Xerxe.
See, this is where we were wrong, Ender. It wasn't about the Akali, it was about Garen Yuumi. They are higher priority.
How did we not see this?
All right, well, in the meantime, of course, we now see the Kai'Sa locked in on the opposite side, paired as well with the Sylas. Already has one good ult to steal away in the Akali. If the Sejuani's locked in too, it'll make sure that Xerxe, if he opts to take that champion, does have some high power ultimates to pick up.
This is a much more standard draft now that we've kind of taken all the wrenches out of the Garen Yuumi. That said, Rogue's first 3 picks, having 2 melee champions in Akali and Aatrox paired with a Sejuani is disgusting. It is a really good draft in just the first 3 looks that you get out of it.
It sets Rogue up to play around these solo laners and play around the top side of the map very early on now. Expecting a Nautilus or an Alistar here for Norskeren in the bottom lane. Pair that up alongside Kobbe's Kai'Sa. Very, very strong in order to stack those plasma stacks. And let's be honest, if Humanoid didn't lock in a support here for Norskeren, there were going to be those 2 bans coming his way in the next phase.
And now as we head into this next phase, I'm curious if Splyce are going to double down to make Norskeren effective and ban away a potential Sivir. Now, Sivir was hit on 916, but she still is fairly good into the Nautilus, and it is one of the champions that Woolite plays.
And additionally, last time we saw Rogue up against this bottom lane, I believe it was Norskeren kind of weaving a hook around a minion to catch out a level 1 Woolite, to kill him very early on as Ezreal in the lane, something you never expect to see happen for an Ezreal in the laning phase. So Rogue need to be careful about this lane, give a lot of respect over to it. But on the opposite side, Splyce have probably one of the most terrifying early game top sides to deal with when a Sejuani is paired up with the melee champions, as you mentioned earlier, Frost.
Rogue definitely have the power top side. Now I think they round it out and match scaling alongside Splyce. Give me a scaling ADC. The likes of the Sivir, I think, as you mentioned, could be very strong because Splyce are already setting up for very big late game teamfight damage. A Sylas, no matter where he goes, has great access to ultimates in this type of game, and the Kai'Sa is going to be very, very powerful.
I do want to pay attention to the Morgana ban. Yes, Morgana is decent into Nautilus because of how the Black Shield is going to work with the CC, but usually Morgana is paired in tandem with a Caitlyn. Now, I don't know if Woolite's going to continue to grab the Caitlyn, but this is something to pay attention to in a best of 5. It may give us a way that they have the Morgana Caitlyn prepared for Rogue.
For now, however, the Gnar will be the pick, and now it's going to be a Tahm Kench.
I said match the scaling. Now they're really trying to make it happen here. The Kog'Maw with that protection going to be pretty strong. Interesting to see how it fares in this 2 versus 2 lane. You have a lot of HP buildup on the side of Splyce, so going for the on-hit itemization is going to be really, really strong on a champion like the Kog'Maw, and he has the front line to keep him beefy and keep him safe.
And the first Kog'Maw of Summer, it's been a long time since we've seen that champion. It looks like it will be now the Azir locked in for Humanoid. So once again, fighting fire with fire, matching scaling with even more scaling now on the side of Splyce.
So yeah, forget game 1. Completely different match this time around. Game 1 was about fast early action from Rogue, was about the Garen Yuumi, about popping off around that lane. This game is all about the scaling. Late game teamfight damage, AD carries, mid laners going to be hugely, hugely important here. There's going to be a much different look and a much more standard look for both these 2 teams.
And I feel like it's going to be about execution in these skirmishes and in these team fights. And my eyes are really on Norskeren. He gets one of his signature picks of the Nautilus. He is a much stronger Nautilus player than I think he is pretty much anything everything else, and he is so pivotal to getting a hold of Woolite. When you have a Tahm Kench, when you have a super tank of a Sejuani standing in front of you, Woolite can plant his feet and just be devastating, while Aatrox and Akali are blitzing into the backline and destroying everything. Norskeren needs to be on point here.
Yeah, Norskeren has the ability to start off fights and dive in deep, while the rest of his backline has self-heal tools. So Splyce have the ability to go in, they have the tools to go out as well, whereas Rogue are just getting geared up to go for that big front-to-back team fight first.
And it was an explosive game one. Rogue coming through and dominating to be a different picks and bans. Once again, new picks from the side of Rogue. An old friend, someone we haven't seen at all this summer in the Kog'Maw. Paired now with a nerfed Tahm Kench. Will it be enough to continue their dominance over Splyce in the best of 5? Something we're going to have to find out, something we have to look forward to as the players get ready and start to load into the game. But of course, before we get into the action, let's hear a little bit from Splyce's coach backstage.
Duke, you decided to ban Yuumi this time around, so do you feel like this is what cost you the game?
Yep.
Okay, well, great answer. And you also decided to pick red side once again, even though you lost in game 1. So can you give me the reasoning behind this?
I mean, the thing it doesn't affect much of our game plan. It's just that we can scout it if they had something prepared with Yuumi. I know that this Yuumi Garen thing is now spreading in Europe, and we were not sure if they were playing it. Unfortunately, they do, and now we just kind of have the same game plan, but by removing this kind of cheesy strategy that we didn't have much counter to it.
All right, well, we'll see if it pays off in game 2. Now back to casters.
So we removed one bizarre champion in the Yuumi to pick up another for Rogue in the likes of the Kog'Maw. Now over in the LPL, Kog'Maw is actually played a lot. I do want to point out Woolite's rune setup, however. He went for the Lethal Tempo as well as the Inspiration, so probably looking for the Biscuits, which have been nerfed, and then trying to get that late game power of having that attack speed. Now in the LPL, they actually play it with Resolve, and they play it with Press the Attack, so much more a lane-focused Kog'Maw build. So this one with the Tahm Kench, I think Woolite's going to try to cruise through this lane, maybe make use of his W whenever it's up to get some poke damage down, but otherwise play on the back foot.
And we do talk about how Kog'Maw does scale very well into the late game, mainly because of the range on his W and that % HP damage. But as you mentioned, you definitely do well, especially once you pick up one item. Because he goes for on-hit builds traditionally, he does have the ability to outfight you off of that first big purchase, whereas a Kai'Sa is going to want to build 2 items before she can start evolving her spells.
Yeah, and there we go. Thank you, observers, or excuse me, graphics guides, for showing us Woolite's rune page here. So again, the nerfed Biscuits, as well as having access to the stopwatch, a very defensive setup from this Kog'Maw. But again, he can be spec'd multiple ways to be really aggressive in just a Boolean lane as we continue to see him throughout playoffs.
And I'm personally excited to see what the build path is going to be, what he's going to look towards on a team comp, or up against a team comp like Splyce's. For now, though, and as you check in across the lanes, no surprise to see the Azir still with pressure in the mid lane. Of course, Azir did get hit on this patch, that Q cooldown, nerfed by 2 seconds at max rank, 2 seconds at first level the same, and I believe then nerfed through the rest. So overall, pretty big hit to his potential damage output.
You also have to remember that the Q cooldown ties into his escape tool as well. So if he goes forward with the Q, being able to reactivate that to go along his E and follow his soldier away, he does have a little bit more time that he has to wade through. Now, I would like to look at the top lane pretty quickly for a moment here, because Gnar is a ranged champion. You could say, wait, he should be able to bully Aatrox, should be able to push him in the early laning phase. But if you look at how his jungler is pathing, it started topside and went down for Norskeren. So Chachi wants to allow Finn to push this in underneath his tower so that Chachi won't be vulnerable to an early gank from the Sejuani Aatrox combo.
Oh, Larssen. I'm not entirely sure how this has happened, but
Get your place!
I'm just going to assume he was outplayed. All right, a little action there. We might want to get a little picture-in-picture replay on that one.
So remember when you were saying Larssen wasn't a super flashy player? Well, when he gets his hands on the Akali, he likes to make the flashy plays.
Now the thing is that Larssen will always fight you over CS. We used to talk about Uzi and how Uzi will contest you for every single minion. Larssen loves farming and he loves contesting for that. So again, you don't normally see those flashy plays from him, but in lane, I bet he's probably one of the most obnoxious laners to face.
And it's only going to get more obnoxious too, because let's wait 4 or 5 minutes until Inspired hits level 6 too. You know, before that flash comes back up, we're going to be looking for a gank around that middle lane. The CC from the initial Akali charge in, try and set up for that kill, should leave Humanoid exposed.
And honestly, in the last game, Inspired was kind of the guy that we need to keep our eyes on. Before we talk about that, take a look at the replay here. So just honestly, just fantastic trading. And it looks like, I think Humanoid fully aware that he was going to take the bad end of that trade, trying to get CS, but definitely did not expect to burn flash.
He also then just walked straight back into Larssen. So that was just a huge blunder by him. He got out of the trade. He could have reset, could have TP'd back in the lane. Instead, he's like, no, let me trade you when you're like twice as much HP than me.
I'm going to say well played by Larssen, but I think there's probably some justifiable criticism.
Flash.
Xerxe is going to find the lockup immediately, though. Will hook to Tahm Kench. That's going to be bad news. VandeR So with the flash available, forced to use the exhaust. The TP now coming bottom side. Who is on the way in? Looks like Finn coming down, trying to lay some damage. Norskeren could be in trouble. But overall, bit aggressive there to burn the TP.
Rogue really wanted to make that play because Chachi had just TP'd back into the lane. Unfortunately for them, Splyce hadn't actually used the summoners to make that play happen. They will still be able to try and deny underneath the tower, but it was a hard one to really punish for a kill.
And the nice thing is that as you can see up onto the top side of the map, the wave was actually pushed forward. So while Finn did make his TP cross map, because he did it with a prepped wave, he's actually not going to lose much here. It is on a cannon wave. He's going to be able to walk up and not miss any minions.
That's because the cannons soak up so much more auto attacks from the tower. As soon as that first minion goes down, tower's going to switch over the autos onto that monster, or minion rather, and don't think Spin got it, but he's going to get everything else.
Still an okay spot to be. Going to soak up some of this. Hasn't lost too much overall to pay for that price of the TP on the bottom side. I do want to shift attention kind of back to the junglers as we get a little bit closer to these level 6s, these big potential plays, because last game it felt like Inspired on the Elise was kind of unleashed. For the first time in a long time, it felt like we really saw him pop off in the early game. And I'm curious to see if he's going to be able to have the same impact now on the Sejuani.
It's going to be about how the mid lane feeds into that priority for him to have impact. Now, Sejuani has great river control, and with Larssen still have access to flash, whereas Humanoid does not. This is why Norskeren has to be here. Yeah, supports do tend to hang around the mid lane as VandeR is actually in Fog of War after they're back to lay down vision, but it's also because Splyce need to cheat priority to allow Humanoid to push out this wave by having someone in the back pocket to protect him in case Rogue go aggressive.
And you saw Rogue were very aware of this as well, bringing up VandeR and Inspired, considering the ability for them to try and make a play themselves. Not going to go for it in the end, and you'll see Kobbe using his TP to get back into bottom lane. Woolite held on to his, which could be important later on when he's trying to get a really good reset and then try to set up a play around the Sejuani.
Inspired on the bottom side, the flash forward, the tongue. Norskeren could be in trouble, but he can't just hook his way back out to safety. Bit over aggressive there.
Okay.
And you can see the idea is that Kobbe and Norskeren are missing the flash, so you understand what VandeR's trying to force, and especially when you have an Infernal, both Rogue and Splyce want to play around control over bottom side. But I think it's just over-eager, because why not just wait for Inspire to have access to level 6, then try your hand at that gank?
So now it's going to happen again. Xerxe is trying to come through lane. There is a ward that'll spot him out at 3v3.
Hook is there. Already now burned. Woolite now going to try to step forward. Good damage coming in from Norskeren. Hook gone, though. Has to be careful. Only 3 stacks, though. Not going to be able to land the stun. That's going to be disastrous. Inspired. Forced to dash out to safety.
And Rogue are overplaying their hand right now. They're trying too hard to make this work, and they're losing a lot of time for Inspired. Now, that said, Inspired was waiting for his camps to spawn on the bottom side. He now has access to that red buff. He will pick up level 6 very soon, if not off of this camp. But now Splyce, shoe on the other foot. They have control over the bottom river. They can choose if they want to disrupt Inspired on his red or try to gain priority over Infernal.
One of the things we see a lot around the 7-8 minute mark is junglers trying to get pressure for their bottom lanes to pick up that Infernal. There is a ward on that map, though.
But this is what I want people to pay attention to, and it's actually what's happening in the mid lane right here. Akali is pushed forward because, again, Humanoid's still waiting on access to his flash, and this is why Rogue are over-forcing the play. If they actually just waited for Larssen to get priority over mid lane and then Inspire to farm it up to level 6, just rotate with your Akali and your Sejuani and force that bottom lane play instead of wasting all of that time and VandeR's flash.
Yeah, Inspired should hit 6 off of this crab. He's a very short window where he can look for a play here. The minion wave looks a little bit too big, though. Xerxe also coming around, so the window ultimately going to be missed.
Humanoid, though, now starting to walk up right into enemy vision. We'll be able to place down a ward. Uncontested sees, of course, the Scuttle Crab. In the meantime, we'll also use the Scryer's Bloom, trying to get as much information as possible before he comes back to lane. Feeling a bit more comfortable, though, as Xerxe is right behind him, working on that red buff, presumably close to his level 6 as well. Already has it. Of course, bad news, no mana for him at this stage, so we'll not really be able to threaten, just kind of shadowing, hoping to support.
But Splyce are in a much better position than they were for the last 5 minutes because Azir now has access to his flash. He's going to feel much more confident to actually use his wave clear to contest for the minion wave in this mid lane, and Xerxe will be able to clear out his jungle, probably get it back, and again, we're going to start playing for that priority over bot side.
And if this reset were to come out first from VandeR, he can actually path through mid lane and get control. One play that Rogue could look to go for, if they reset Inspired now as well, is coming off of a reset. What you can actually try to do is you can pull up through this mid lane, cheat priority, bringing your jungler and your support to help push in that lane. And then also with the TP we're seeing right now from this Kog'Maw, you could look to get the control over the lane, go for that Infernal, because you know that Kobbe can't go back to base and get back onto the map because he used his TP earlier.
Have to see exactly what Rogue want to opt for in terms of plays overall. I felt like they were ahead of the curve just about every time in the previous game. See if they continue to match the pace as we get a little bit later. For now, things going quite well actually for Woolite on the bottom side of the map. Obviously, a lot of attention paid over to his lane. He's been able to hold a freeze for a lot of the game.
There's a small window here. Kobbe doesn't have his TP yet. He's just made his back. Inspired is just in time in this wave. As soon as VandeR and Woolite push this up, I don't know if Rogue are feeling bold, but they could try to force the Infernal before Splyce get their feet here.
Oh, going to be a really difficult call, though. You can see Xerxe already trying to path down. Does not want to walk into Fog of War, but enough vision there to stop this. Larssen now going in fishing for the 1v1 against Humanoid. He's going to get it! First blood!
And Finn's coming down too, so it's not even like Xerxe can overextend for the fight. If he does, he might go down.
Xerxe stealing one half of the ultimate there.
Everyone is talking about Humanoid, but remember the name Larssen, because this could be the series that this guy pops off from just stable to flashy.
Just incredible. Want to see the 1v1 one more time, but now it's no longer a cheat, Froskurinn. Now they no longer have to go for an ambitious dragon play. It's free because the mid laner is dead.
And I do want to compliment Rogue. They used their teleports correctly. They cheated the priority just as Ender was talking about and displayed with us. But again, you can still just play through priority in this mid lane. You have kill pressure here. Larssen is flexing it on Humanoid. So while Rogue do get the spoils of the Infernal, it's still not set up as perfectly as it could be.
And in that replay, you saw Larssen going in low on HP. You also can't see the Shroud in the replay, unfortunately, though, but was being able to dodge away from a lot of the damage coming through from Humanoid.
Woolite now has to run. Ultimate will connect. Kobbe, is he going to fish for anything else? Good that he doesn't go in.
There's control ward in this bottom bush here for Inspired. Now toppling Chachi.
Mega Gnar is going to come out just in time. Finn forced to flash away. Not sure if he needed to do that one, but had to respect the potential for the combo. The big Gnar into the wall could have been disaster.
Yeah, if he doesn't flash that, I'm pretty sure he just instantly goes down right now.
Bot lane! Kobbe goes in, he's exhausted, but it's not going to matter already. The AD carry's dead. VandeR's next on the list. The rest of the team chasing Kog'Maw. The passive will not be
double
enough.
TP.
With a double TP. Splyce gonna get a taste of their own medicine.
Here comes
Is it
Akali.
just like game one? And in come the soul laners. Can they be the difference makers? Now Splyce TPing as well. Kobbe's gonna grab another kill. It's now an absolute bloodbath. Larssen gonna try to fish for something, but there's no damage left. Akali does not have the cooldowns to take this fight. Is forced to walk away, and Splyce come out on top.
Larssen's ult was still on CD. Humanoids too, but he has now made his way down into the bottom lane. It is Splyce able to come away with the victory in that fight.
And that could have been disaster. You think if this is an Akali that picks up 2 more kills in that rotation, that might be game over. So good hold from Splyce to absorb the TP from the Akali coming down, to force her off the play, and to pick up these plates on the back end.
Also now trying to snowball Kobbe 2-0-1 with the Storm Razor finished off right here. Not going to waste his time. Any scaling options with the Manamune. He wants power and he wants it now.
Makes a lot of sense when you look at how the match was going. Blade of the Rune King for the Kog'Maw not yet completed. Maybe Splyce can continue to capitalize. For now, it is just pressure in that mid lane. Vizicsacsi gonna be forced off here as the lane swap comes out.
Yeah, as this lane swap comes, Splyce's primary goal is going to be picking up the Rift Herald for themselves. Need Humanoid to stay alive, though. He really wants to put down a lot of pressure because he knows his teammates are very close. What he doesn't know is Inspired is in this bush.
Yeah, I actually do. Oh, I'll hold it.
Using the ultimate there, Norskeren has now been caught out and taken down. Rogue.
It's a huge play there from Rogue because they are down in numbers on that side of the map. But because Kobbe went top lane and because Inspired was able to sneak in, a flashless Norskeren has nowhere to go. He thinks he has his teammates there in order to walk in and deny the vision, but he gets punished.
And it's so textbook from Splyce. Remember, they were the one who initiated the lane swap. They had numbers advantage on the bot side, but Rogue continuously catching them off guard, where Splyce just think they're playing it by the book.
And honestly, just overall, it's such a clean play. You see the Kog'Maw passive not going to be the big difference maker. And you can see why Rogue starts to turn here. They know their solo laners are on the way. They know that they're strong. But Akali without an ultimate, with no Gunblade, is just not enough of a threat.
Yeah, they're able to get the one onto Norskeren, right? But then they have to run for the hills. My other question is, was the Devour on cooldown? We weren't able to see the lead up into that fight, but he wasn't able to save his AD carry. There's also a stopwatch available for that Kog'Maw. Neither were used, and ends up being a big win for Splyce.
Now stolen ultimate as well from the Sejuani. Of course, Vision will spot Xerxe moving his way into this lane. They'll know that Splyce have 3 committed onto the top side. And for now, Splyce do have gold in their favor. Of course, the Infernal in favor of Rogue, but you can see Xerxe and Kobbe actually starting to pull ahead in terms of individual gold.
And this was the initial play set up for Splyce before they got caught out in front of the Rift Herald. It was force the swap up top, so you have the numbers advantage, you get there first, you get the push priority, and then you walk down, take control of River, and start this Rift Herald up.
And even though the bot lane from Rogue has now come up topside, would be an easy pickup if they were to start up the Herald because Inspired was bottom side. But now they're delaying. They don't know where the Sejuani is, so instead of picking it up, now Inspired has the time to make his way back top.
And the concern is, of course, that Rift Herald takes a very long time to take down. So you almost need perfect information before you start it because teams have such a long lead-up time to contest of this objective.
And you have to think, as Splyce opt not to start it, that they might remember what happened in game 1, where they did 90% of the work in Rogue, were simply able to walk in and take that one away.
Now I'm just feeling like Splyce are a little bit skittish. You know, they have massive pressure in mid lane, top lane too, before Kobbe was wanting to go back to base. After, you know, a losing fight and a blunder in that river, honestly, they are not willing to make the play.
And they actually missed their window because this Infernal Drake is going to be spawning very quickly here. So again, the initial top side is usually you swap up here, you take Rift Herald, and by the time that the dragon spawns, you're on the bottom side of the map ready to play for it. But we've extended the play quite significantly.
Vizicsacsi pulled back. Gonna go for the double bounce, but Xerxe is on the way in. Finn fishing for a bit more damage. Now forced to ult. Is he gonna... Finn keeps walking forward like he's trying to fight something, but there's nobody there with him. The rest of his team, however, will start the Herald.
Yep, they're going to be able to pick that up with ease. Vizicsacsi too low to go for that tower dive. Now Splyce would like to turn this into an Infernal pickup, but we're still 10 seconds away from that. A couple members from Rogue can reset. Woolite has TP. They're going to look to try and contest that objective too, I think.
And again, another early game where it feels like Rogue are actually controlling Splyce. Now, Splyce do go ahead and start the Infernal. We talked about how Woolite has the TP. He's instead going to go topside, so it actually looks like Rogue aren't even going to risk their chances. They say, we don't have vision control over bot side river. We have all of our gold expended topside. We can instead try to trade this Infernal for a tower.
I do think the Rift Herald top may be a little bit of an overcommitment. I think they pick this up pretty much regardless of if they have Herald or not. Yes, they can use it to try and push in for that next tower, but realistically, I'd love to see that used on mid lane.
I actually think it's so they can get a cheat into the mid lane unless they try to catch out Chachi here, kill him, and force down second.
Finn now locked up immediately. The CC is there. Kobbe just leaps in, and the shutdown comes out for Splyce. Rogue cannot cheat to the mid lane anymore, but instead will focus on this top lane tower, seeing so many members committed into the bot lane. Humanoid pushing it onto Larssen, but will not find a kill.
Mid lane, bot lane, Splyce have a lot of pressure. Top lane, though, they will lose a second tower. So Rogue are going to make up a lot of gold off of this play. Ultimately, bot lane still will be traded in favor of Splyce. They picked up the Infernal as well, so Splyce can be relatively happy with that series of events.
But overall, I still favor Rogue here. Taking 2 towers for Finn's life, like, I'll roll those dice every single time.
On the opposite side, though, of course, Splyce still holding on to about a 1K gold lead, matching the Infernal, so all is not lost. And Xerxe looking good so far. 2-0-3 on the Sylas, almost level 11, and a lot of potential scary ults for him to steal as we get later in the game.
And later is better here. Both these teams, no scaling options either way, and that's why I think the Infernal later on can be very valuable for the side of Splyce.
Now as we continue forward, I mean, it's hard for me to know exactly where to place 100% of the credit this game, guys. It's difficult, because on the one hand, I feel like Rogue have been playing very well. I feel like Splyce have matched pretty well in the last few plays, punishing Finn for overstaying on the bottom side, but now I feel like we get the first really big reset, where neither team has 100% clear, easy objective to take. We'll have to see where they want to focus their attention.
The issue is that Splyce's carry, Kobbe, is actually in between items. So while there's always the potential that you find a pick, you immediately blow someone up. I actually think Splyce are going to play a little bit slower until Kobbe reaches that second item, which he should be very close to. But you can see him hanging out in topside jungle. He's just waiting for Finn to push the wave into him.
Oh, and now Kobbe. Here's the thing. Every time I see this Kai'Sa in game, I'm just waiting for that aggressive leap in. But of course, Finn's still terrifying. Something you still have to respect is the Aatrox, of course, was not banned away at this time, despite a good performance in the previous game. Entirely credited to the Yuumi. Vizicsacsi going to get the Mega Gnar, throwing Larssen right back. Xerxe now on the way in. Is he going to use the full range ultimate here? Larssen's still fearlessly stepping forward, knowing he has the mobility to get out.
Looked like he was able to cancel the animation of the Mega Gnar right there on the second hop, so almost no room for reaction there out of Larssen to knock him in there. Now 3 members of Rogue in the mid lane. Finn coming around as well. They want to brute force through this tower.
Just Norskeren and Humanoid. Not a lot of defensive stats there. Fishing for the hook into the bush. Will not find anyone, but tier 1 in the eyes of Rogue. It looks like they're going to continue to just knock down these towers. In the meantime, Splyce have 2 members on the bottom side, but they're just chasing for an Akali. They don't really have enough there to break a tier 2, unless Splyce want to commit here in the mid lane. Hook goes wide, anticipating a sidestep that just was not there. Woolite not afraid, knowing that Tahm catches in the area.
And part of the reason why Rogue are able to just brute force so much damage on that tower is, again, Kobbe is searching for farm. And anytime you have Humanoid and Kobbe sitting in the same lane, they are eating gold away from each other. So these 2 carries are constantly going to be trying to dodge each other until they find their itemization, and that means that they're at an inherent numbers disadvantage. So good job for Rogue to recognize that Splyce didn't have the numbers where they needed, and just to walk it up mid and start punching through that mid tower.
And for now, we'll see if Splyce can trade back, get a tower of their own. You see Xerxe just kind of throwing the ultimate out there, I believe running out of time to utilize it. We'll try to steal another ultimate shortly.
But take a look at the minimap. The same thing is happening. Humanoid is now kicked up towards the top side of the map, Kobbe sitting in mid lane, and Rogue have this option. We either play for bot tower or we play for mid tower. They're going to be out of position, and we're probably going to get damage on either one.
And there's also the Tahm Kench on the side of Rogue. So playing for these side lane towers when you have control over mid, using that to quickly collapse on a side lane like this bottom lane where the tower's already down to 50% is a play that Rogue can be looking for, especially before the Baron spawns. And once you take this mid lane outer turret, it becomes much easier.
Well, that would be the mid lane outer tower. Things are going to get a lot easier as the audience is now in agreement. And I think now the question is, what else can Rogue do? In the previous game, we saw them kind of just roll over so many back-to-back skirmishes. This game, I think, is going to require a little bit more kind of intelligent setup than the previous one.
So both teams at this point in the game are probably feeling pretty solid. Rogue, they're in control of the game. They just took down mid tower. That feels great. Splyce, though, recognized that the mid tower was going to go down. Again, you were in between items on Kobbe. Splyce know that they don't want to take a team fight right now when they're not strong. So Splyce want to slow down the game, continue to funnel that gold, pick up those items, then they're going to feel much more confident. Whereas Rogue, onus is a bit on them at this moment. They can be a bit more aggressive, they can be a bit more flashy in terms of looking for these plays and using that Abyssal Voyage.
And for now, you see the three-man core grouped up. That is Woolite, VandeR, and Inspired now looking to take mid-prio, lay down a little bit of vision, set themselves up to go for something a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more flashy, potentially. And now as we look across the rest of the lanes, we're seeing Finn collapse as well. Of course, he has been spotted out here, but it looks like with a Cloud Drake spawning, still enough for Rogue to commit this many members and look for it, not afraid of giving up pressure elsewhere.
It's not necessarily just about the Cloud Drake, it's also very much about this last standing outer tower. So the Cloud Drake is actually just a cherry on top.
And the huge benefit for Rogue, because they knocked down this outer turret here in the mid lane, is they can walk up very far, catch that wave early, push through it, and then have the control. You see Humanoid doesn't have members, so you have to sit underneath his tower. And right now, Rogue are making a TP play behind Vizicsacsi top.
Vizicsacsi needs to make his way out. Gnar is on the way. Has to be careful. Using the hop early is going to be disastrous. Good dodge out from Larssen. Vizicsacsi now in mini form. No stats left, and that means no life.
They might just go into the Baron now, too, because Rogue, they made this huge bait play where they forced Splyce multiple members onto the bottom side of the map. Then this flank TP to get that quick kill top lane. They're starting this up, and Splyce are nowhere to be seen.
And Kobbe took his time to take the Scuttle Crab, it looks like, based on the mini-map. The rest of the team now moving in. Norskeren already using the hook. Vision goes down over the wall. Finn waiting on the backside, wants to stop Xerxe from getting in. Woolite can't afford to be the body blocker this time, but doesn't need to be. A fantastic ulti going in on Humanoid. The Azir is dead. Larssen's invisible. They try to lock him up. VandeR saved the day, but that means Woolite is vulnerable. No Tahm Kench devour for a few more seconds, but it's not going to matter. Massive damage on the Kobbe. He's exhausted, and he's dead. Shut down for Larssen.
A brilliant move from Rogue all the way across the map. It starts with the pressure on the bottom side of the map. Now a hook. They might get Finn.
Xerxe wants to get something. The TP coming in. Vizicsacsi on the backside. The mini-Gnar can look to chase down here. The double bounce if he goes off of one of his teammates' head. Inspired has to respect it. The hook is going to go wide. However, Vizicsacsi can't keep chasing on his lonesome. He's the only one who can step forward.
Splyce are able to trade that kill in the end there. But I love the Rogue we're seeing here in playoffs. It feels completely different. This was a team that was timid in the regular season. They were never the ones making the proactive play. They were always playing to the whims of their opponents, always reacting. Now this team is on the offensive, and Vizicsacsi's in trouble.
Has to get out of there. Gnar now coming in, has to flash to safety. And what was he? Okay, explain. Why?
I'm about to say the same thing. While Rogue are kind of finding their confidence, finding their form, and finding their final evolution. On the other hand, Splyce looking very much out of sorts. We talk about the mental game, and it is fairly early in this best of 5, only in game 2, but you're starting to see some of those cracks of Norskeren, of Chachi, of Humanoid, kind of making these decisions that you don't really equate to Splyce's consistency that we saw in regular split. Maybe the pressure is getting to them.
I love the approach here from Rogue in this fight. Finn coming in around the flank, and even though the Azir wall tried to divide that fight earlier, Woolite, with the extra range from his W, is able to dish out the damage to knock out the two primary carries of Splyce. Now, ultimately, Splyce able to turn it around here. I think Finn was trying to reset to then TP back in towards the Baron. We've got another fight!
Mid lane, Norskeren's going to go down one more time. Kobbe could be next on the list. Larssen now chasing forward. It's a very fed Akali. Long-range ulti will not connect. Xerxe secures Kobbe's retreat.
But time and time again, it's Norskeren overextended in the mid lane, getting caught off, and you can't do that when you're against an enemy Sejuani. Every single time, Inspired is going fishing for that, and he's finding it.
Now tier 2 in the sights of Rogue. Humanoid doing what he can on the top side of the map to get something back in return, but honestly, Rogue just now so far ahead. Of course, the gold's still relatively close, however.
The issue is that Chachi doesn't have TP, so Rogue are completely fine to overextend, if you will, into that mid lane, be that far forward and pressure that mid tower, because the big engage in Gnar doesn't have the TP to look for the flank.
Tower going down there to minions. Check this out in the mid lane one more time. We missed the initial setup for it, but I think it's Inspired just coming through around the corner. They have the global of the Tahm Kench as well. Norskeren tries to soak the CC to keep his AD carry alive, but ultimately will fall down. Mid lane, VandeR gets hooked.
Now the engage, VandeR very much in trouble. A lot of damage goes down onto him, but once again, Larssen the man you have to keep your eyes on, trying to chase down, looking for Xerxe, is going to get the kill. Finn now on the hunt, has the reset. Kobbe is going to get pulled back. Infernal Chains will find him, but no, Kobbe still trying to survive. It will not be enough. Larssen on a rampage. Humanoid, the last one left standing. Vizicsacsi up to the side, but the Gnar will fall away. He will not get his Wombo moment, and Humanoid pays the price with his life. It's only Vizicsacsi versus the world.
Rogue are not slowing down. They keep throwing out punch after punch into the face here of Splyce. Once again, one member of Splyce alive, but this is going to be another very early Baron for Rogue.
I don't think there's anything that Chachi can do to stop them. He doesn't have access to Flash. Larssen has set up a trap for him. They have vision control. I think this is free for Rogue.
4K and dropping 24 minutes into the game. Now a 3K gold lead, soon to be even greater. Backed up by a Baron. 4.5K for Rogue, a Baron as well. They are once again dominating.
I'm a glass half full type of person. So good news is, Rogue fans, your team's ahead. It looks like you guys are going to win game number 2. Good news for Splyce fans, you actually have wave clear options this time around. So this Baron should be the nail in the coffin for Splyce like it was in game 1.
But if they take another fight like this, where the Baron is on Rogue, that could just be it. Rogue continue to find these beautiful flanks on the side, these perfect initiations where Vizicsacsi, frankly, can never enter into this fight. They're able to turn it around for one more kill. And now with the Baron, with the Tahm Kench, with strong soul laners, they can look to pressure multiple lanes at once.
I mean, let's be frank, Splyce should not have been there to begin with when you don't have TP on Chachi and your Gnar is sitting out into a side lane.
And Splyce, once again, just getting absolutely outplayed by the Rogue side. And you can see 2.5 items for Larssen, but more importantly, 3 items for Woolite. That is a lot of on-hit damage.
I just don't know how Splyce are supposed to kill this guy. They get outranged by the Kog'Maw. Their dive is relatively weak when you consider there's a Tahm Kench on the other side and a frontline all trying to body block skill shots for them. Splyce would have to come up with a miracle team fight right now, and with all this pressure on the bot side of the map, again, Rogue are going to continue to infiltrate into Splyce territory, knock out this final outer, or inner turret rather, in that bottom lane, and then get started on the inhibs.
And now when we look at it, the big siege setup, will the wave clear be enough? Splyce starting to have multiple members commit over to the top side. Vizicsacsi definitely have to pay more respect to Spin.
They can also use the Abyssal Voyage if they want to just straight up die Vizicsacsi. If they were to pull multiple members of Splyce towards the middle lane or the top lane, you can definitely make this type of play happen.
They do need to respect Gnar popping though.
Stolen Sejuani ultimate as well. Woolite still stepping forward though. VandeR there to body block. Can't look to save Inspired, but
look at Norskeren. He's down to 50.
Just so much damage coming through. Now, double Baron creeps, they're pushing in. They're going to break a tier 2 tower. Splyce maybe going to pitch for something in the mid. Kobbe feeling the play. One more auto, a few more, trying to get it to safety, but Larssen will just dash out, and that means meanwhile the rest of his team could be in trouble.
Kobbe literally trying everything he can right now to turn this game around, but that's his flash, that's his bottom lane inhibitor. Splyce have their backs against the wall. They continue to get chunked out, and Rogue showed no signs of slowing down.
It's absolutely fearless. Humanoid is just another name on the list. They're going to chase it in. The TP is now coming into the mid lane. Larssen moving back to support. One inhibitor is going to fall. Larssen may just fish for the dive here against Humanoid, but lethal tempo procs doing good damage now. The rest of the team can start to cheat to the mid lane. Humanoid has to be careful here. Instead, they've just got their eyes set on the Nexus. They're just walking into the base. Rogue are tearing Splyce apart. The Nautilus ultimate denied. Vizicsacsi, maybe this is his hero moment. Eyes on the Gnar. Maybe the double bounce into the ult can be enough, but it does not look like it.
Where is your cheese now, Splyce? You are actually just getting manhandled by Rogue.
No chance.
That's
what he wants, but there's no damage left. Kobbe on the side. Maybe he can get this done. Maybe it will be enough. Kobbe, is he there? The double kill comes through, but the Akali's alive, and Finn, he dunks down, and in this moment, Rogue are demolishing Splyce from favorites to falling through. Xerxe, it will not be enough. He gives his life, and at this moment, on this day, Rogue from 5th place to 2-0 to match point versus Splyce.
It is now changed in a discussion of defying expectations to going the distance. Match point against Splyce. This was supposed to be 3-0 and a handshake. Splyce like, you're not even worth our time. We're about the top 2. We're about the Fanatics and the G2. And Rogue say, not today. You will pay attention to us. You will respect us.
Rogue are saying it might be a 3-0, just not the way you expect it right here on match point now. And let's not forget, Splyce chose to play against Rogue, our 5th place team. They said this was the team that we could take out. Well, Rogue, they showed no signs of giving up.
Because it was supposed to be expected. That's everything that Duke said in Euphoria, you know what Rogue's going to give you. You don't know what you're going to get from Vitality. A Garen Yuumi in game number 1, the Woolite Kog'Maw in game number 2, and it has just been clean performance from Rogue. Yes, they are more of a reactionary base team, but Splyce are not making the correct decisions, and Rogue are punishing them every single time.
And look, we kind of assumed that when it came to playing textbook, that Splyce would be the better team, and that doesn't look to be the case. And when we looked at the rosters on paper, we kind of expected Splyce to outclass in a few different areas, but that is just not coming true. The bot lane difference is not showing. Woolite is carrying on his own, something I did not expect to happen. Additionally, Larssen is destroying Humanoid.
Yeah, it looked insane on that Akali, but more than anything, I just love the macro moves we are seeing out of this Rogue team, completely transforming in just a week's time from week 9 to round 1 of playoffs here. And it was that move where they put so many resources down towards bot lane, immediately TP to the top side of the map. They're playing a full map style of League of Legends, and it's beautiful to watch.
And it's not just VandeR that's leading the charge. Time and time again, we always sing VandeR's praises. You know, if he's involved in a play, chances are things are going well. He is on form today, but this is all of Rogue stepping up. Between the macro movements of Inspired to the individual performances of Larssen and Finn, these guys came to play.
And once again, just an incredible show of kind of team play as well when we look across the board at what they're bringing. Finn suffering in lane, getting kind of in these tough situations, up against Renekton one game, up against a Gnar the next game, it's Aatrox, but consistently making an impact. And now Rogue are on the verge of a massive upset against Splyce. With game 3 just moments away, you do not want to go anywhere. Woolite can't afford to be the body blocker this time, but doesn't need to be. A fantastic ulti going in on Humanoid. The Azir is dead. Larssen's invisible. They try to lock him up. VandeR saved the day, but that means Woolite is vulnerable. No Tahm Kench Devour for a few more seconds, but it's not going to matter. Massive damage on the Kobbe. He's exhausted, and he's dead. Shut down for Larssen.
VandeR gets hooked.
Now the engage. VandeR very much in trouble. A lot of damage goes down onto him, but once again, Larssen, the man you have to keep your eyes on, trying to chase down, looking for Xerxe, is going to get the kill. Finn now on the hunt, has the reset. Kobbe is going to get pulled back. Infernal Chains will find him, but no. Kobbe still trying to survive. It will not be enough. Larssen on a rampage. Oh, to falling through. Xerxe, it will not be enough. He gives his life, and at this moment, on this day, Rogue from 5th place to 2-0 to match point versus Splyce.
You don't have a chance against me. I can calculate 90 trillion moves in advance. Not fair. Not fair.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Ready for the finals?
Experience the LEC Finals in Athens.
with Shell V-Power.
Sometimes I